It was one of the most memorable years of nitro drag racing in recent memory. In the NHRA, new teams emerged, and in Australia, one huge announcement changed the landscape of Top Fuel racing going forward. The year gave us some of the tightest competition in Top Fuel and funny car history, and it was a year that many took their destiny into their own hands. The year where new partnerships were formed and new series were announced. I'm your host Dan Bennett, and welcome to another edition of Nitro Mouth as we look back at the top 10 Nitro stories of 2021. Number 10. NHRA announces the return of the Nitro Shootout races for 2022. The race within a race format is finally back in 2022. Top Fuel will have their NHRA All-Star Shootout in Gainesville, Florida, while Funny Car will have their shootout at the US Nationals in Indy. The format is unique. For the first time ever, the shootout will use a call-out format, with the number one seed getting their first choice of opponent. The 8-car field for Top Fuel will run on the Saturday of the NHRA Gator Nationals, and it'll be set based on a combination of season-ending and qualifying points from the first two events of the 2022 season. The Funny Car field will also be an 8-car deal, with drivers gaining points towards the shootout starting from the already completed 2021 US Nationals through to the event prior to the US Nationals this year. Shootout prize money has yet to be announced, but it's rumoured that it'll be a $100k payday for the winners. Number 9. Tim Wilkerson wins the US Nationals, his first win in 5 years. The US Nationals isn't just another race. Tim Wilkerson broke through for his first national event win in 5 years, a 391 over Ron Capps' 394 in a lane that nobody seemed to be able to get down that whole day. The look of excitement and relief on Wilk's face at the top end showed just how much that victory meant to him. In that moment, it's hard not to be a Tim Wilkerson fan. That was the 21st win of his funny car career. Good job, Wilk. Number 8. Toyota announces the Supra GR body for the funny cars in 2022. At the NHRA finals in Pomona, the Toyota Supra GR funny car was unveiled to race fans and media for the first time. 2 years in the making, the Supra replaces the Camry, which had been in use since 2012. High on the list of design requirements within the NHRA guidelines was an increase in visibility, which is obvious from the higher windshield and driver's compartment, giving the drivers better overall peripheral vision than in the past. J.R. Todd was involved in the design process, working with Toyota on the safety aspects. Todd and Alexis DeJoria will debut the Toyota GR Supra in February at the Winter Nationals in Pomona. Number 7. Tommy Johnson Jr. subs for Matt Hagan and wins in Reading. TJ has spent the 2021 season on the sidelines after DSR couldn't find sponsorship for him. Subbing for Hagan in a 2-race stint, the US Nationals and the Mopar Nationals in Reading, TJ went on to win the final over Hagan's points rival, John Force, by just 0.003 of a second, a 392, getting the win over a 394 in one of the closest funny car finals of the season. Number 6. Josh Hart debuts and wins Top Fuel in Gainesville. And by the way, it didn't stop there. Former alcohol dragster gun Josh Hart showed up in Florida for the season opener with the ex-Vandergrift race operation and Ron Douglas as crew chief. The quietly spoken Floridian shocked the Top Fuel field when he marched through to the final round in his first race, setting the tone for one of the most impressive Top Fuel debut seasons in years. Hart would go on to win in front of a stunned Florida crowd as the hometown talent won on debut, a 382 over Sean Langdon. Hart would be the first Top Fuel driver to win on debut since the late Darrell Russell in 2001. Hart would go on to win the Carolina Nationals in Charlotte during the countdown, eventually finishing 11th in points. For 2022, Hart made his crew chief a partner in the race operation and has committed to the full Camping World NHRA schedule. Number 5. Tony Schumacher announces his return to Top Fuel. It hasn't been the same without the driver formerly known as the Sarge. Schumacher announced his return for 2022 in November. With backing from the Menard family and Skag Power Equipment, Schumacher is proud to be bringing non-automotive sponsors to the table in 2022. He'll make up the sole entry out of the DSR stable, a throwback to how it all began in 1997. Schumacher appeared at 8 races in 2020, with backing from DSR's family of sponsors during a disruptive COVID season. He clinched the win at the Spring Nationals in Houston, Texas in September 2020. Number 4. Ron Capps wins his second championship in Funny Car and forms his own team. In his final race with DSR, Ron Capps clinched his second world title in Funny Car. He'll go on to become an owner-driver in 2022, carrying Napa with him. Capps' championship hopes hung in the balance on the final race day of 2021 when Alexis DeJoria disposed of Matt Hagan, handing the championship to Capps. For Ron Capps, team ownership has been a lifelong dream, and he'll get to live that out in 2022. Ron Capps Motorsports will continue to operate out of the DSR headquarters in Brownsburg, Indiana. Number 3. Top Fuel Australia creates their own series and departs the 400 Thunder Series. The Top Fuel teams wanted to race in more states across the country and take ownership of the promotion, media, and overall delivery of their own style of events. In short, they wanted to take control of their own destiny. The formula is already successful, with Graham Cowan's Outlaw Funny Car series operating in a similar way with a cult following. Featuring a carnival atmosphere, it's aimed at attracting the family market while staying true to hardcore drag racing fans. The Top Fuel series will travel to Victoria, New South Wales, Western Australia and Darwin in the Northern Territory, beginning in January and running through to June. Top Fuel Australia set social media abuzz when they announced that their grand final in Darwin will be a mega event, running in conjunction with the Supercar series that weekend. For our American friends, it's the equivalent of NHRA and NASCAR joining together for one huge weekend of racing. Number 2. DSR drivers depart. After the departure of Tommy Johnson Jr. and Jack Beckman due to a lack of funding, the 2021 season started out with a lighter roster of drivers. Antron Brown eventually announced he will be going it alone, forming AB Motorsports. Then Leah Pruitt and Matt Hagan announced their 2022 plans with Tony Stewart Racing. That left Ron Capps, who announced his departure from the DSR roster on December 8 to become a team owner-driver. Capps and Brown will continue to rent space within the DSR building and buy parts from DSM. Schumacher will effectively become one of the biggest parts warehouses in all of Brownsburg. This leaves Tony Schumacher as the sole entry out of the DSR building for the new season. It's unclear at this stage if DSR will field a Funny Car in 2022. Before we get to number 1, I want to talk about something that I thought should have been a top 10 story for the year, but wasn't. As a race fan and sports marketing enthusiast, I had high expectations for Camping World's involvement in NHRA. Marcus Lemonis, the CEO of Camping World and a serial entrepreneur, didn't make an appearance at any of the races, but seemed to keep tabs from a distance. In fact, beyond a race between two RVs at the season opening race in Gainesville, it didn't appear that there was much activation of the Camping World brand other than signage and TV spots. In my mind, I expected races like Brainerd, Minnesota, the home of the zoo, to be the ultimate race for Camping World, where camping and RVs are a major part of the Brainerd Zoo experience. Camping World and NHRA could have created some brilliant activations for the fans. I think it was a missed opportunity for sure, but I'm optimistic that 2022 will be a much better year for the Camping World NHRA relationship. And finally, number 1. Tony Stewart Racing forms an NHRA team. The NASCAR legend added NHRA team owner to the resume when, in a huge announcement in October, Tony Stewart addressed the media alongside Leah Pruitt and Matt Hagan, announcing the formation of a 2-car team for 2022. Tony Stewart's racing team portfolio extends beyond the NASCAR Cup Series through to USAC, World of Outlaws Sprint Series, and now NHRA Drag Racing. Stewart's presence at NHRA events in 21 was more low-key as he followed Pruitt and Hagan's season, while learning the ropes of NHRA team ownership from Don Schumacher, acknowledging the differences between NHRA and Cup team management. I'm genuinely curious to see what impact Tony Stewart Racing will have in NHRA and what innovation they'll bring to the series. 2022 promises to be a completely new ballgame. What other stories would have made your top 10 list for 2021? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date with the latest in drag racing news. Thanks for watching.